Alpha-gal syndrome has moved quickly through headlines, social feeds, and health conversations. Tick exposure becomes the focus. Symptoms raise questions. Stories spread faster than context. The challenge is not simply hearing more about alpha-gal syndrome. It's knowing what to do with the information. Because when health concerns become personal, panic can set in fast. And that's not healthy for anyone. We need practical ways to handle prevention, exposure, and response. This town hall examines the shift from panic to preparation. When fear is dispelled with context, when assumptions are replaced with facts and clarity, when prevention receives as much attention as reaction. Leading this discussion are two voices known for looking beyond the conventional narratives. Dr. Simone Gold, physician, attorney, and founder of Gold Care, is recognized for challenging conventional healthcare narratives and advocating for greater transparency in medicine. Joining her is Dr. Jana Schmidt, Gold Care Wellness Director and board-certified naturopath with more than 3 decades in natural health, bringing a perspective shaped by preparedness, holistic wellness, and practical prevention. Together, they explore the growing questions around alpha-gal syndrome, including tick exposure, prevention strategies, post-exposure considerations, and why real-life testimonies continue shaping the conversation around healing. Attention around alpha-gal keeps rising. Questions and concerns are growing. What matters now is discerning what merits concern and what requires context. Gold Care, built for you, powered by freedom, trusted by thousands.
Good evening and welcome to Gold Care Medical Town Hall. We are so grateful you are with us tonight. Tonight we are discussing the alpha-gal syndrome, all about ticks. It's the latest craze going on all around the media. Everybody's talking about it, wondering what to do, how serious is it, and what does this syndrome really cause? Tonight joining us, we have Dr. Jana Schmidt. She's the Wellness Director for Gold Care Health and Wellness, an amazing naturopath with tons of information about remedies and things and truth behind alpha-gal. Also with us is Dr. Gold. She is the CEO and founder of Gold Care Health and Wellness. And we do have a special guest tonight. Her name is Katie Howe. She is one of Gold Care's partners in promoting what we do here at Gold Care with a lot of questions from our users, members, and various people asking these questions on social media to talk with Dr. Gold and Dr. Jana this evening. You can click the link on the ticker to repost and share this stream. It is very important information. We would love for it to get out there for everyone to see it. And we've also got an amazing ebook for you. Click the link, visit the page, put your email address in, and you'll get an ebook all about alpha-gal. Let's get to the conversation, Dr. Gold.
Thank you so much. Great to be here. It's so good to see you, Katie, and it's so good to see you, Dr. Schmidt. And welcome to everybody who joined us tonight. So we do these town halls. I think most of you know we do these town halls every month, and we do them specifically because there's so much medical fear around different medical subjects. You know, it hits the newspapers, or I guess these days, not the newspapers, but hits social media on a regular basis. And people get worried and scared, and it's logical. If the media keeps putting something in front of you, you'll either get curious or curious and worried. So we've heard a lot about alpha-gal. So anytime there's a medical disease or something that risks causing a lot of medical fear, we definitely talk about that at Gold Care. Our task at Gold Care is to make sure that you have facts, you're not afraid because you have the facts and you're armed. And then with those facts, what can you do with that information to protect yourself personally? And then also, what can you do to protect your community? Because you then become a person who can spread real information as opposed to disinformation or propaganda or fear-mongering that tends to happen with these kinds of subjects. So I'm very happy, especially to have somebody who's not really coming from the world of medicine like Dr. Schmidt and myself, because we do want to make sure that we cover topics that the general public is very interested in. So my role as a formerly board-certified emergency physician, many of you know I gave up my board certification emergency medicine certification because they were really kind of coming after me for saying things like we're going to talk about tonight. But my role as a medical doctor is to kind of go over the medical disease, the pathology, physiology of it to the extent that we know it. And then Dr. Schmidt has a totally different perspective than I was trained in to offer solutions really to all medical conditions, the solutions coming from the natural side. So it's just a tremendous collaboration that we do here at Gold Care. So tonight might be a little bit different than other town halls we've done, just because alpha-gal is such an odd situation. It's such an odd, I don't know how else to call it. It doesn't fit neatly into many categories. It's called out there in social media. Everyone calls it, an allergy to meat. But when you dive deep into the science, it's kind of odd. It doesn't behave like a typical allergy. There's a lot of ways in which it's different than a typical allergy. So we're going to go over it. And I'm starting with that because at the end of this, I'm going to really conclude with, we clearly don't know most of what is going on with this thing that we're calling alpha-gal syndrome. So I just want to, point out that we need to have a little humility about what we don't know yet. So what is known? So alpha-gal syndrome, it's the name of the syndrome, right? And it comes from this protein, I'm sorry, I said protein, carbohydrate called alpha-galactose 1, I think. And it's nicknamed alpha-gal because it's that carbohydrate that we're saying that the human body is having a reaction to, like an allergic reaction to it. But we really don't kind of understand it. It's alpha-gal galactose. This carbohydrate is found in pretty much all mammals. All mammals have it, except humans don't have it, and maybe a couple of others, but pretty much all mammals. So cows and all other mammals have it. And we humans have actually been exposed to alpha-galactose or alpha-gal all of our lives. If you've ever eaten meat or dairy, you've been exposed to it. So the question is, why are we hearing about it so much if it's just kind of this ordinary carbohydrate that's found in all mammals? So that's really kind of the question. So the theory right now is that a person becomes sensitized after a tick bite, that a tick bites a cow, gets the alpha-galactose carbohydrate in its tick saliva. This is very exciting and delightful to talk about. So grabs onto the cow and it gets some of the alpha-galactose carbohydrate in the tick saliva. And now it has it. And then the tick lands on a human. And if it's staying on that human for a while, 48 hours, 72 hours, but, period of time, in that process of the bite of the tick, kind of like, sucking on the human, there's a transfer of materials. That's including the alpha-galactose, the alpha-gal, and also tick saliva and whatever else is in with the tick saliva. So those two things are happening during the tick bite, the alpha-gal exposure and the tick saliva exposure. And the theory is that the person becomes sensitized after tick bite that is carrying this. The most common tick that's carrying this is the Lone Star tick, which is most common, historically it was most common in the Texas area, but it's really spread quite a lot. But it's definitely southeast heavy, and it's kind of gone north a bit and more towards the Midwest a bit. But that's its kind of natural habitat is a Lone Star tick usually. And it can cause a lot of symptoms. If you are bit by a tick and you get this reaction, you then develop essentially an intolerance to mammalian products, specifically red meat more than anything else. But some people also have an intolerance to dairy products as well. And one of the odd things about it is that the intolerance, even though you've got it through the bite, the intolerance when you have the syndrome is following you eating, right? So you've got the bite, but later you have problems when you're eating meat, or in some cases, people have it also to dairy and meat. And those symptoms, when you get them, are many hours later, 3 hours later, 6 hours later, 8 hours later, it could be even 10 or 12 hours. It's quite a bit of time later. It's not like when you think of a bee sting and you have an allergy to a bee sting and it happens very quickly. If you have alpha-gal syndrome, you get the tick bite, you're sensitized, you've got the thing. Later on, you might be eating a steak, and many hours later, you'll have symptoms. Those symptoms could be like a classic kind of allergy symptoms, like hives, very severe, life-threatening, the anaphylaxis, which is uncommon, but it can happen. But most commonly, it's GI problems, right? People get diarrhea or vomiting and GI symptoms. And again, it's very strange, right? It's many, many hours later. So I just kind of want to start with there that it's quite unusual in how you get the thing and then the symptoms once you have it. So it's not really following the usual rules of allergy. The symptoms take many hours. There's other details. Dr. Schmidt, is there anything else you want to add to that kind of portion of it?
I think, thank you. That's a great start. It is odd. It's different, and it used to be very, very rare, but now it has just increased remarkably. I think 300% in the last
Yeah.
5 years, is that right? So it needs to our attention for sure. And I'd only worked with one person in my 30 plus years that actually had that from a tick bite. So, but now I hear it more and more. So I think it is very important. I think they get misdiagnosed often because the delayed allergy to food, and it doesn't happen like a protein allergy would to normal food. So I think it does need more attention, and people need to know what the signs are to look for, and also ways to prevent themselves from even getting in this situation at all with the ticks.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to talk about prevention,
sure.
what are the kind of treatments. And yes, the incidence we'll talk about has just skyrocketed. And it's even the CDC, not a source that Dr. Gold is particularly fond of referencing, but when they acknowledge something is probably about 10 times worse than they say. But the CDC has said that almost 500,000 people in America have alpha-Gal syndrome. The reason I started here, because it is the natural starting point, but it's also it's a challenging diagnosis to make, because you had this tick exposure at some time in the past, and then later on, some other time, you're eating steak, and then hours after you've eaten the steak, you have these GI symptoms. And so it's really very difficult for people to make the diagnosis, and we'll talk a little bit more about making the diagnosis. But also think that it's why is this happening all of a sudden? And we don't have definite answers. Like, why all of a sudden, alpha galactose, the carbohydrate's been around forever in mammals, and humans have been exposed to ticks forever. It's people, I've spoken to people who've grown up around ticks, and they've had dozens, hundreds of tick bites in their life, and it's never been anything like this. So why is this such a thing now? That is a big question. So the symptoms, as we were saying, is usually 3 to 8 hours after eating some kind of mammal product. Again, usually it's red meat, but it can be dairy. It can even be non-red meat. Usually the reactions could be mild, like itching, hives, flushing, but usually it's a GI problem. Like you have abdominal pain or nausea or cramping, diarrhea, vomiting, bloating, kind of GI problems. So some people really, it could take them years to put this together. That they're going from doctor to doctor to doctor, like with stomach ache essentially, and they can't fit it together. So one of the services we hope to do for you tonight is, if you're a person who's having like kind of unexplained stomach, GI distress symptoms that no one's ever really been able to figure out, definitely I do think alpha-Gal is something to consider. Some people, like I said, can have reactions to more than red meat. So it could be even to poultry, it could be to dairy, but also it could be to like gelatin, things that are mammal derived products, like a gelatin product. And there have been cases of people who've had like an artificial heart valve that derives from a pig, because a lot of heart valves are from pigs. That could be a source too. But again, these are pretty much outlier situations, but they do exist. Diagnosis is really tough because, as we've said, many times just tonight, that there's a big delay between the trigger, which is the meat, and the symptoms. And the symptoms are quite nonspecific GI symptoms. But there are some tests that you can do. The most important thing is to think of it first. Like, could this have been a thing? So if you're listening to this tonight and you live in an area, or you've yourself had tick bites and you have unexplained GI symptoms, you definitely should consider this. But you also shouldn't worry about it. If you're not having GI symptoms, you shouldn't be panicked about this. And even if you do live in a tick area and you've had tick bites, and you're not getting stomach aches and hives, like don't overblow it.
Don't worry about it.
We're trying to do the opposite.
I think it's important what you mentioned about it's not just the red meat, because that's kind of what you see in the media. Oh, you can't eat red meat anymore. But some people who are on medications, like you said, pig or bovine even derived, like thyroid medication, or even pancreatic enzymes that come from pig or bovine ox bile, these types of things will perpetuate it and keep them from healing. And then there's also a great concern regarding whether vaccines made with animal byproducts, gelatin, bovine serum, are going to, venom peptides are going to trigger or exacerbate this alpha-Gal syndrome.
Yeah. Katie, I just, again, this is kind of an unusual town hall, Katie, because it's usually we have a couple of experts just talking about different things, but because this is kind of such an understood subject, are there any specific questions kind of at that level, which is about diagnosis or symptoms, that that you can think of that are on your mind?
I just think that it's crazy that we're trying to, start implementing. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. That like they're starting to implement fake meat, right? So why not get us sick from the real thing, like from
We'll get there. We'll totally get there.
We just moved to an acreage, and now there's ticks everywhere. And like we just pray, we just say like, in Jesus' name, we're covered. But it's so crazy that it's just, I don't know. Like, have you heard that they're releasing ticks onto farms and stuff like that?
We're totally going to get there. I just didn't know if we had
Okay.
any questions about how to diagnose this or it's how common it is. We're absolutely going to talk about it because we know that's all over social media. Like, why are the numbers going up? And we've seen pictures and all that. So for sure, I know that that's the main thing. I just want to make sure people get the answers to their medical questions before we go there, but we will, because that's like kind of the most juicy part, right?
Okay, yeah, I want to get to the juice, but no,
Should we
sorry about that.
talk about how it's determined?
Yeah, how we diagnose it. Yes, is that what you're saying? Yes. So that's exactly what I wanted to say is how can you actually diagnose it? So first you have to suspect it, right? So either you had a suspected tick exposure or you live in a tick area or you're watching social media and you're hearing about it and you have unexplained GI symptoms. I would say that's the trigger that should cause you to consider, how do I make the diagnosis? So the good news is there's actually is a blood test for it. It's called alpha-gal specific IgE antibodies, and that's the primary way you diagnose it. However, I just want to put a caution out there. There are people who have alpha-gal syndrome who have high levels of this alpha-gal specific IgE antibodies that are very high, and there's people who have symptoms that their numbers are very low, and the reverse. It doesn't seem like to correlate so much to it. Nonetheless, if it was me and I had these symptoms and I had a history of tick bite and my numbers were high, I would certainly feel comfortable saying that's what I've got. I just wanted to caution people because I have talked to a couple of people. This is, by the way, used to be, as Dr. Schmidt said, very rare. I never personally had a person. Not only did I never have a patient with alpha-gal, I actually never knew anybody else who had a patient because in the ER, we used to talk to each other and I'd never heard this. And we certainly saw plenty of Lyme disease, for example, for comparison's sake. But anyway, it's called alpha-gal specific IgE antibodies. That would be the test to do. And as Katie was saying, you know what, let's turn to Drew for a moment because you got so much more to talk about. And Drew, back at you.
Thank you, Dr. Gold. Yes, I know there's so much more to say about alpha-gal. We're seeing it in the comments on the live stream right now on X. Everybody's asking about where this is coming from and if there's anything nefarious about it. While you guys are tuning in and listening to the conversation, don't forget to click that link that's scrolling across the bottom of your screen. We've got an amazing ebook for you all about what we're talking about tonight. Plus, you can learn a whole lot more by visiting goldcare.com/Dr. Gold. You can join us. We'd love to have you join the community to learn all about this and more. Right back to you, Dr. Gold.
Drew, thank you for mentioning the ebook again. So when we do town halls, many times the Gold Care medical team will put together information for you just for free. We want you to have this information. So everything that we're talking about tonight, that Dr. Schmidt is talking about, and I'm talking about, and other people at Gold Care, we have put down in a booklet. It's really, really informative. And we'd love to invite you just to receive that. So Katie and all the people on social really want to know, like, how common is this? Like, why are we seeing this so often? So the numbers, for what it's worth, said that in about 15 years ago, they thought there was about 100,000 cases of alpha-gal, and now it's 450,000, right? So it's a 4.5 times increase in about 15 years. That's really a huge increase. And it said the CDC says there's approximately 15,000 cases were coming up each year during the periods that they were studying it. And then there was another study that was showing it used to be about 10 to 12 years ago, about 2% of people who had symptoms were testing positive, and now it's 38%. That's just extraordinary. I don't have any comparison diseases that I could imagine people would have symptoms and go from 2% to 38% in a certain time period. I think that's really amazing. So it's real, that this is a real increase. It's not just something that people are talking about. That's not true. It's important to know there are lots and lots of ticks out there. The tick that tends to carry this is the Lone Star tick. it's so named because it does look a bit like the Lone Star in Texas, and it was very, with the star on its back, like a white spot on its back. And it was very common in Texas, although it has spread. So everyone agrees that the rapid increase is very disproportionate from, like, you can't blame it just on more widespread recognition or better testing. It's just the numbers are just too high for that to be the reason. That's usually the reason people say, like, oh, that's, when they're calling you a conspiracy theorist, they're like, oh, they're just testing more, they're just worried about it more. No, the numbers are too extreme to say that that's the reason. So what do we do with this? Because we want to get to all the juicy stuff, right, Katie? What do we do, though, if somebody has this? Because I know some people listening tonight have this situation, have this problem. So, and this is where I'm so happy to have Dr. Schmidt on the call, because I think naturopathic approach has more to offer than the medical approach in that regard. And it's a shame that there's been such division for so many decades between the two halves of our profession. The absolute most important thing you can do is not have additional tick bites. And that may sound like common sense to everybody, but in fact, to me as a physician, I found this really surprising, because we're calling this a red meat allergy. But when you're allergic to something, having subsequent exposures, you continue to have the same symptoms. It doesn't really escalate. If you have an allergy to bee stings, you will have that allergy on the 2nd and on the 5th and on the 10th bite. And it's the same. Now, apparently with alpha-Gal syndrome, if you develop it, but you keep getting repeated tick bites, your symptoms are worse. Again, every case is individual, but your symptoms don't get better. Whereas if you do stop having tick bites, let's say you move to Alaska, you're not getting any more tick bites. Your symptoms often will improve dramatically. So as much as that's good news, I do find it very curious as a physician. Didn't you find that very curious, Dr. Schmidt?
I did. That was very unusual that with increased exposure, it's going to be worse and worse. And I think that speaks to the fact that it's a carbohydrate and not a protein, and it just shows different. I know we're calling it an allergy, but I feel like that it needs to have a different word to describe it. But I guess that's the best word we can describe. Now, there are things we can do and avoiding getting ticks, and there's some pretty common sense things like wear long sleeves and long pants if you're going out, and tuck your pants into your socks, and remove your clothes right away, and check yourself and check your dogs. And but one of the things I want to say is please don't use DEET. DEET is a chemical that keeps bugs away, keeps ticks away, but it's extremely harmful to you and your children, your environment. And there are non-toxic repellents that work as well or better than DEET, and it'll be good for you and for your, for your children, safe for your pets. So I'll probably speak a little bit more of that as we go forward. I don't know if you want me to talk about it now or.
Yeah, I'll just get out kind of the medical, and then we'll turn to yours, because I actually think the medical is kind of subordinate, so I just kind of want to knock it out. But we absolutely agree that you want to not get further tick bites. And I want to emphasize what Dr. Schmidt said, like, you should go home after you've been out and absolutely check your whole body, make sure there's no ticks, because the truth is it's not from like the tick being on you for an hour or two. They have to be on you for a while. So get them off, take them off, make sure they're not like, living on your skin. I know that can be difficult in certain areas of the country, but that is the main thing you can do. And if you do think you have these symptoms, make sure you're not getting further tick bites. Just make sure you're careful about that. If you do think this is your problem, or you've had the blood test and the blood test it's high, the alpha-Gal specific IgE antibody is kind of high, stay off red meat, I would say for 6 months. Mm-hmm. And then you might be able to slowly reintroduce it and see. A lot of people actually do get better over time. Again, not consistent with this being an allergy. I totally agree with Dr. Schmidt. I don't think this is actually an allergy. I think this is something else that we don't know. It's some kind of immune dysfunction, but maybe the closest thing we can call it is an allergy.
I wanted to add in also, as well as avoiding red meat, I think it's really important. There's a couple of supplements that are very popular that are going to still give some of that allergic reaction, like organ meat supplements, liver supplements, things like that. A lot of people are taking that type of supplement, and vitamin D Some of it's made with lanolin, and that's going to also exacerbate the problem with alpha-gal. But they do offer, vegan vitamin D from other sources like lichen. But honestly, the sunshine is going to be our best source of vitamin D and the safest as well. But I think those need to be stopped as well while people are avoiding red meat to try and help get their bodies back on track.
Thank you. Some people have had some success with typical kind of allergy medicines like antihistamines, like in the Benadryl or Atarax kind of category. Also the H1 blockers, Zantac or Pepcid kind of category as well is an option to at least to try. A drug called Xolair is another thing. And then we're going to turn to Jana to give us a little bit more on other naturopathic options. I want to say we have all of this written down for you clearly in the ebook. I think that's one of the big strengths of the ebook is like, what can you try? What can you do? And before Dr. Schmidt, I also want to mention that there is some evidence to suggest that acupuncture can be very helpful. I've seen at least one study where it looked very, very promising. And that is another thing that we did include, the specifics of the acupuncture. It's very, very specific, has to do with your ear, acupuncture on the ear. It's acupuncture done a little bit differently. And again, that's also in the ebook. But Dr. Schmidt, if you can share with us your perspective on natural treatments, remedies, improvements.
Definitely. There's so much. And I generally, I stick to naturals, and I understand medicines, but I also understand the natural alternatives as well. And natural options can successfully address the vector, insect-borne, microbial burden, the inflammatory signaling, the immune dysregulation. One of them that I thought was really interesting was ashwagandha. It has a glycoprotein in it, which inhibits this activity that spreads the alpha-gal when the tick bites. It's really very, very interesting. So the ticks secrete this called hyaluronidase into the saliva, and it's the spreading factor. But if you have ashwagandha in your body, or you're taking it, regularly, it has a glycoprotein and it inhibits that spreading factor. So that's going to make it easier, I feel like, for people to get over it. And then also natural antibiotics. I love natural antibiotics. These, I feel like are getting more attention now because of the overuse of pharmaceutical antibiotics and, becoming, antibiotic resistant. So something like oil of oregano has been proven to be more effective overall as a broad spectrum antibiotic. And I love it. And it's easy. And it can be taken as capsules. It can be taken in a liquid. Colloidal silver also. These not only would be taken internally, but also on the site if you've been bitten by a tick and you've removed it. And I'm going to tell you like a really great way to remove ticks too, but to literally put them on the site as well as taking them internally. Another favorite is garlic. And one of the great things about all of this is you can take oil of oregano and ashwagandha and garlic. You can take all of these together. For most people, this isn't going to be a problem to have this in their body. In fact, it's probably going to help build their immune system. I mean, garlic alone, we know, is a strong antioxidant and can fight parasites and worms and has phytochemicals and sulfur components. But it's also one of my favorite antibiotics. I did some work with black seed oil. It also has these properties. And we talked about ivermectin, and that was an option as well. And when ivermectin comes up, I generally go to organic sweet wormwood, which can be done as a preventative once a week, just like ivermectin, or if you're actively sick, once a day for a week. So these are the types of things that I tend to go to. And then we talked about binders. I know we've talked about once you get these things off the body, it's not attaching to the cells. You need to bind them so they can be removed from the body. And when toxins are being eliminated and they're in your bloodstream, you're going to feel pretty bad. So you're going to want to bind them so they're not reabsorbed. And something like sweet wormwood and ivermectin can help to dump the toxins and the heavy metals and the metabolic waste into the bloodstream, digestive tract. And these awesome, wonderful natural binders are going to help carry them out through the bowels. And we're talking activated charcoal. This helps bind bentonite clay that help get heavy metals and harmful microbes out of the body. Psyllium husk, modified citrus pectin. All of these are very easy to find. And I do want to say a lot of these things that I'm mentioning right now, you'll be able to find many of these things that I'm talking about on our Gold Care store. I vet everything comes into the Gold Care store very, very thoroughly. So I just wanted to let you know that if you're looking for a really good source, anything that's in the Gold Care store, I trust 100%, and it's what I use for my family. There's some other things that we were talking about, anti-inflammatory, like turmeric, bioavailable turmeric curcumin. That's going to help. It's really potent anti-inflammatory. It's been used in lieu of, I believe is it Eliquis? That's a blood clotting medication. It's been used in lieu of that successfully. And then one of the favorite things that came up was quercetin. I've been using and recommending this instead of hydroxychloroquine. I mean, one or the other, right? It's okay through COVID. But for me, it's such a great natural antihistamine. It's going to help with symptoms right away, but it's also a mast cell stabilizer. So it's going to be helping you get over this as well. It helps with cardiovascular health. It's a strong anti-inflammatory, and it can be taken as preventative. So I recommend if you are in an area that high tick area, or even if you've had it on you and you ask one of your Gold Care providers, like, is this something that would be good for me? How about quercetin? Because I think I would recommend that if someone came to me and asked me. There's all kinds of other things like detoxes, gentle detoxes, liver detoxes and bitter herbs, and there's lots of things like that can be done. I mean, I guess I could talk all night about natural things, as like green tea is helps with inflammatory. There's so many easy natural things that can be done. I don't want people to be nervous about this or scared, even preventative type things that can be done. And then if you actually do think you have it, then I feel like there's definitely hope to get over it, but you just need to get on it and know what to avoid and what to include, and work with somebody, like one of the Gold Care docs that understand it.
Exactly. Okay, amazing. So, Dr. Schmidt, you're just like such a wealth of information. It's so great. I was seeing Katie like nod her head, like Katie's like right there with you. She knows, she's very familiar with all these. Most medical doctors, just for the audience, like most medical doctors are not familiar with these things. And I think it's especially important when we don't really understand this disease and like all the layers to it. We understand certain parts of it, like I didn't say, but the mast cell activation that's definitely part of it. And then if you have meds, natural or pharmaceutical, that can reduce mast cell proliferation, right? So that's what Dr. Schmidt's specialty is, when our naturopaths specialize in. And a lot of people, it can improve like the symptoms, like, you're saying with quercetin, or it can improve if you've gone on a holiday from these food products, and you can kind of reintroduce them slowly later. A lot of people are better. So I want to really echo what you're saying, like not to be panicked, not to be overly anxious about it. But it is a very odd kind of situation that doesn't match a classic food allergy. And I want to remind people, or maybe people don't know this, doctors generally know this. When diabetes was first given its name, diabetes, it was because I think it was the 1800s, a doctor tasted the urine, and the urine was sweet, and they knew that was a person who had diabetes, and that's how the name came about. But that lumped into one category everybody who had high glucose or high sugar in the urine. And as we've learned over the years, diabetes 1 and diabetes 2 are essentially two completely different diseases. I mean, they're really not related at all. They're only related, to my mind, position by the excess glucose that both patients have. But one is there's no insulin. Your insulin has been destroyed for mechanisms. And the other is it's too much of a burden, really having to do with your diet and your exercise and your sedentary lifestyle. But they're linked, and they're all called diabetes, right? I have a feeling alpha-gal is going to be a little bit like that, where we've taken this situation and we're noticing certain things, mast cell activation, there's tick saliva plus alpha-gal exposure, and then you're getting these symptoms. And I'm just saying to people, be kind of cautious that there's a lot that you don't know about this, but there's also a lot that we can help you with symptoms. I think in a case like this, it's my assessment that naturopathic remedies are actually superior to pharmaceutical remedies in this situation, that it's very helpful to get expert guidance. And I don't think you're going to get that from the medical establishment in this case. So if this is something you're worried about, absolutely make an appointment with a Gold Care doctor. But if you're not, if you're just reassured by hearing this, and that's fine too. So we're going to cut back to Drew for a moment. And when we come back, we will talk about all the things we've heard on social media, like where is this coming from? Why are we hearing about this so much? Drew, back at you.
You heard it from Dr. Gold. She and Dr. Jana will have all the tea for you about where alpha-gal is coming from and what the heck is going on with it. Dr. Jana, thank you so much for all of that information. You are a wealth of knowledge. We appreciate it. And yes, the Gold Care store has many of the products that Dr. Jana just mentioned. You can get all of this information at goldcare.com. Come and join us. This is exactly what we do. Dr. Jana couldn't have given a better testimonial for how to get real, honest, truthful information. And it's all at goldcare.com. Back to you, Dr. Gold.
Just right before we leave the medical behind to turn to the social, political, cultural, I just want to emphasize that this is a topic that's almost in a way better read than done in a video, because the content is a little bit different, doesn't follow usual patterns. And I really do encourage people to get our ebook for that reason, because it's not a straightforward thing. It is not something you can learn and understand from social media or from a video, even a video like tonight. There's just a lot more detail if this is something that you're curious about. Let's get to the stuff that like everybody wants to know about. Like, why are we hearing about this? Like, why are we even having this town hall? We are always surprised at Gold Care, Katie, like the kinds of things that all of a sudden, boom, they pop up, and all of a sudden it's the thing that everyone is talking about. It could be measles, it's disease X, it's hantavirus, it's like whatever it is the flavor du jour of some medical fear mongering. So what are you hearing on social media about this? Like what are people saying?
They're just saying that ticks are everywhere, and ticks are genetically modified. They're being dropped in boxes onto people's farms. Like, it's all just big farce that's really happening. But I mean, we see ticks all the time, like where we just moved, but I've never seen the Lone Star ticks come in Canada, because that's where I'm from. Have they made their way up to Canada?
That I haven't actually heard. I have not heard that.
I actually can't hear Katie.
Oh, you can't hear Katie?
Uh-oh.
I hear you.
Oh, shoot.
My goodness gracious. Are you able to, Dr. Schmidt, are you able to hear me?
Fine.
Oh, no.
So Dr. Schmidt, I'm going to keep talking to Katie for a bit. She's asking about like the distribution. She's in Canada, and are they in Canada?
Okay. Maybe I'll hop out and come back in.
Okay, give that a shot. We'll see you in a moment. So you're in, I had not heard that distribution. Really, it's really Southeast. I had not really heard that distribution. So do you know anybody personally who's come down with alpha-gal?
No, I don't. I don't. Like,
right.
I don't think it's that big in Canada. Yeah. I know that getting bit by ticks and having Lyme disease is something that's, on the news. Well, I don't watch the news, but it's also from deer ticks. So that might be Canadians' version of the Lone Star tick. So
we have all seen, I think everyone, a lot of people on this call have probably seen the boxes on social media, like, people finding, farmers are supposedly finding boxes on the property, and there's thousands or millions of ticks in those boxes. And I just want people to know that we are really a source of information, and we try very hard to only give you information that we've personally vetted. So I have been unable to personally find a first person account of somebody who has found this. Having said that, that doesn't mean it hasn't happened. I'm just saying that I've talked to a couple of different farmers, and they've heard it, but they had not seen it personally themselves. Nonetheless, the incidence has exploded. So my opinion is the only opinion. I think it probably is true, but I haven't personally been able to verify that. I don't know, Dr. Schmidt, if you have a different opinion.
I haven't talked to anybody that actually has seen it firsthand either. It's just hearsay. So I have a hard time speaking on it.
Yeah.
For sure. Unless I absolutely know for sure. But It does make you wonder why suddenly there's been a spread of it, and what is, if there's a social media push, what is to come? What's going to be the push for the solution for this, which always concerns me, because I don't feel like it's going to be good for us overall. And also there's the thought, we've talked about it before, the ethics of people trying, like, don't eat as much red meat. And now that I hear people saying, well, this is a nefarious way to get people not to eat red meat, give them anaphylactic shock if they do. And, I don't feel like that's out of the realm of reality anymore, because my reality has just been shaken in the last several years. But I don't know that that's what's happening. Right.
So, yeah, I absolutely and we're going to go there right now. So
Okay.
the reason people are concerned and they think there's nefarious intent behind it is, one, what we know for sure is the incidence has skyrocketed in a way that doesn't make sense for just kind of an ordinary situation. Why is it just skyrocketed like that? Two, there are lots of different kinds of pictures of those boxes. I mean, it's not just one picture. Yes, people could be sending out fake pictures, but it's kind of a lot of effort to do something like that. And there's also a lot of first person accounts of people saying, I'm seeing tons and tons more ticks, right. Like not just, the boxes, but people in the field, farmers and people in the farming community said that. That's on the one hand, that we think that we know there's a huge explosion, and we've seen what it seems to be more ticks. And then you look at people who might be invested in this. As Katie said at the top of the hour, Bill Gates has invested heavily in two things that are making people really, really worried. One is he's invested heavily in tick technology for tick. Now, what he says he's investing in is ticks that can spread between cattle to reduce parasites amongst cattle. Like, that's the research that he has funded. But it's ticks, right? Okay, so I'm just saying it's ticks, So it's different than this, but it's not as though it's elephants, right? It's ticks that he's investing in. And specifically, it's genetically modified cattle ticks and what they're calling vector control systems, right? Because I said at the beginning, this can't just be alpha-gal. It has to be alpha-gal plus the tick saliva. There's just no way it's just alpha-gal. Alpha-gal is ubiquitous. It's been around as long as humans have been around. So it's something about the two together. And he does fund research on that, which is the ticks and the vector control. Like the vector is the way you get the thing, and that's the tick bite and the saliva. And he does invest in that. He also invests in people buying non-meat products, right? And he talks publicly about the immorality, essentially, of eating meat products. This is what's making people very, very nervous. And I'll have to tell you, I'm in the camp that I'm very nervous about this. And I do think there's a nefarious thing going on here. You mentioned something that I think is utterly horrific. And if people haven't heard it, they're going to hear it tonight, and they're just not going to be able to unhear it. So last year, there was a journal article by two medical ethicists who, in my opinion, need to lose their jobs, because you literally are disqualified from being an ethics expert with this. So they published an article saying they'd heard about alpha-gal, and they said, well, if it's moral to eat less meat to help the planet, because eating meat is bad for the planet, climate change, that whole philosophy that some people cater to, then it would be moral to give people a condition that would prevent them from eating meat. So they published this article. They are from the University of West Michigan, I think it's called. It's in our e-booklet, and it's called Beneficial Blood Sucking. Beneficial blood sucking is literally what they call it. So they say it's moral to spread this disease. And that was published just last year. So when you have a guy who's investing in tick research about vector control systems and tick research saying that it's kind of immoral for people to eat meat and investing in non-meat meat, and then you have academic PhD types who are writing articles about that it's moral to do this and it's our moral obligation to spread diseases like alpha-gal, you do begin to wonder. Those are the facts. What's going on? Hard to say. What do you think, Katie? given those are the facts. That's the lay of the land, that we have doctors saying this, professor saying this, Bill Gates has these motives. Have at it.
I'm just going to read GK's comment, because can people see the comments?
No, so that'd be great.
He wrote, Bill Gates is the original bloodsucker. So, I mean, you just have to, it's all correlated. Where the money is going is where what is it funding? It's funding depopulation of the world. I don't know. Maybe I'm going too far out on a limb on some things, but you can't live or sustain on non-meat products. It's all very crazy and very suspect, as you would say, and you just have to go to the root of it. Like, they don't want you to be healthy. They don't want you to be thriving. They want you to be controlled. And this is another way of doing it.
Yeah. It is concerning, Dr. Schmidt, right? To have all those motives, right? To be investing in the non-meat products, to have the investing in the cattle technology, to
buying up farmland and buying up farmland.
He's the biggest, he's like the third biggest farm, United States farm.
And they're not active farms, they lay fallow.
Yeah.
So it doesn't look good in that regard. And there are so many other ways to help the cattle industry, the people, and how much meat people eat. There's so many better ways to making rules and laws to treat the cows better, to feed them right, to have, good conditions. That would actually kick out a lot of people that are doing it in mass production and not doing it well, and reduce a lot of the carbon footprint. It would reduce a lot of the problems that many people say are the problems, by just making the quality of farming with animals, like the rules just be more humane. That would solve a lot of problems, but that's not the area doesn't look like that's the way people are going. So when I see this, I think it's nefarious way to make people do what they want them to do. But thankfully, we have minds of our own, and we talk and we get together and we look at the science behind it. And, regardless of where it comes from, I feel like there's always going to be somebody out there that's doing something wrong for control, for money, for greed. We've seen it from the beginning of time. But it's how we react to it and how we walk through it and what we do with it and who we align ourselves with. And I feel like Gold Care is just perfectly poised to bring accuracy and make it accessible and facts and hope, because we're about that doctor-patient relationship. We're about really bringing people healing and making them incredibly aware of what's going on so they can have that power themselves and they won't be tricked at every turn or every social media push. They'll go, oh, let me look into this one, right? So I feel like it's just another one, and there'll be more.
Yeah, there are always, exactly. It's good to focus on. So that's actually why we built Gold Care, was to make sure that everybody could have access to accurate information. The doctor-patient relationship is really the only thing that matters to us. When you're in that individual encounter, doctor-patient, that's it. They're like laser focused on you and your needs. At the same time, we don't need you to be overly medicalized either. That's why we do these town halls and master classes and faith classes, all the classes that we do, because we really just want you to be educated and have doctors when you need them. A lot of the things we tell you about are things you can do on your own without a doctor. I mean, Dr. Schmidt has told you many of them tonight. And, like I said, in this particular case, we have an e-booklet that gives you really all of this information for free. So yeah, that is why we exist. We never again want to live in a system where there's so much medical fear that people just give up their rights, they're thinking for themselves because they're too afraid. So I do think that this topic of alpha-gal, it's important, because any disease, that affects people is important. But I think any fear that you're feeling over it is probably very overblown. A lot of people, we've shown you how you can get the diagnosed, right? You can go get the alpha-gal antibody, IgE specific antibody. If you want to get tested, there's lots of different things you can do for yourself. You can make sure you don't get additional tick bites. You stay off red meat for a period of months. Often these symptoms improve. There's a lot of natural options of things you can try. There's a couple prescription options you can try, like the allergy medicines, like in the Benadryl category or the Zantac category, those kinds of medicines. And then there's just the educating yourself and not being afraid, and being ready and knowing that you have partners like on the other side at Gold Care can really help you through these things. Katie, I don't know, what other questions might you have, like representing the public?
Everything that you guys are saying, it just is speaking to my heart, because I mean, we lost our freedom to choose back when it all happened, and now you're just bringing it all back, and I'm just so honored to be a part of it. But there are the questions as far as like, so when you do have these symptoms, so you just book online, like with one of the Gold Care doctors, or how do you, like, could you just walk me through a process of how we take advantage of a Gold Care doctor in this Alpha Gold like instance?
Alpha Gal. So our doctors are all familiar with this, and in some situations like Alpha Gal, we want to educate you primarily. So we only see Gold Care members because we're a closed community, but once you're a Gold Care member, all you have to do is just make an appointment with a doctor in your area. It can be an advisor or it can be a prescriber in your area, meaning in your state, or an advisor, and just have an appointment, probably a 15 or 30-minute appointment. And then if you wanted to get the blood test, like the history suggested it, if you live in an area that's kind of prone to it, you're like in Arkansas, for example, and or you've had tick bites, and or you've had unexplained GI symptoms for a while, absolutely one of the Gold Care doctors can order for you this blood test. And if your numbers come back high, then we should talk about things we talked about tonight, but specific to you. So absolutely, we can help you. It's very, very easy to make an appointment at Gold Care. It's like,
absolutely, yes. It is very easy. And I wanted to mention that on the Gold Care site also, we have the most effective repellent for ticks and mosquitoes and ants, and it is all natural with neem and tea tree and oil of oregano I mentioned, and peppermint, and you just spray it in. No tick will come near it. It just runs the other way every single time. So I just wanted to share that with everybody too, that you just spray your feet or surfaces, and it's all natural, and it won't cause any harm, no harmful chemicals whatsoever. And there is, if you do find a tick, it's best to use tweezers to get them off. And there's actually something called a tick twister invented by a veterinarian. And it's one of the safest ways to remove. I think it's like $6 on Amazon or something. It's a very affordable little device, but it's been really good. And then if you want to save it to show someone like, hey, this is what I was bitten by, stick it in a Ziploc bag with some alcohol in it, like rubbing alcohol. Otherwise, I say burn them. Get rid of them completely.
So that's a good point. Will you tell people again how to take it off, and then also to save it? Because if you ever wanted to test it, they actually can be tested.
Yes. So if you want to save the tick, you suspect it as something, and you want to bring it to someone to show a doctor, or even a veterinarian will know. You use tweezers, and there's a little gadget called a tick twister that will really help you get the whole thing off, because you don't want to break it off. You want the whole thing to come off. Put it in the bag with a little bit of rubbing alcohol, seal it up. And then if you're not going to save it, then I recommend burning it, because squishing it may not kill it. You don't want it to come back. And if you do have a bite, I would say, Manuka honey is amazing. Honey is great. It's effective over 250 strains of bacteria, so it's going to help. And like I said, some of the other things before, directly on the site. And everyone's different. You may have a tick bite and nothing happens, right? A couple weeks will go by and you're okay. I really wouldn't be worried about it. But it's if you start to have some of these unusual symptoms that we talked about before, and it's not just alpha-gal. There's Rocky Mountain spotted fever. There's all different types of things that can happen with tick bites. In fact, of the insect vector-borne diseases from any sort of insect, ticks rate 77%, and that's even with mosquitoes. So ticks actually are the biggest problem. I was really surprised to read that, because I live in Florida, and mosquitoes are nasty.
I'm telling you, I'm convinced after my research, there's something in tick saliva that's a problem. There's like anticoagulants in tick saliva. There's a problem with the tick saliva. And again, we don't know genetic modified, but even on the tick saliva.
That's true. If it's been genetically changed, then who knows what it has, this super bug. But what we know about a regular tick is that it does have that spreading factor, and something as simple as ashwagandha, which is an adaptogen, can help prevent the spread of it, even if you are bitten.
Dr. Schmidt, I have to say that I think a lot of people listening tonight are going to want to have a consult with you in particular, or on your wellness team. But so your wellness team is prepared.
Yeah, the wellness team, they're all amazing. Absolutely.
Yeah.
They're all ready. They're all amazing.
If this is something you're worried about, I absolutely advise you to join Gold Care immediately if you are not already a member, and then make an appointment with one of our naturopathic doctors. So yeah. Any other really good questions that are broad, Katie, like that people might be interested in?
Just how do you make all these natural remedies? Like you say, everything is available on the Gold Care store, and that's another question. Does that ship globally?
In the whole country, yeah.
So in Canada, you order the stuff.
Oh, from the store, yes. From the store,
yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, like that's what people want to know. They want to know who they can talk to, how they get connected, and then where do they get the products.
Yeah.
And there are people like myself making. I have a company called Jana's All Natural. I've been making products for 30 years, and high quality. And so there are people like me and many others that we are also including in the Gold Care store that are making high quality products. But honestly, many of them, like the spray, you can make yourself. You get make an appointment. I can tell you what's in the ingredients. Make it yourself. Like, I'm all about empowering people on how to do it themselves as well.
Yeah. Amazing. So Drew, we're gonna go back to you, and I just want to thank both Dr. Schmidt and Katie Howe for tonight's talk. I do think it's actually very helpful for people to get straight information, the things that we know and the things that we don't know. Drew.
Thank you, Dr. Gold. What a great conversation tonight. Dr. Jana, Katie, thank you so much for joining, for sharing all of your knowledge. It is so useful and so appreciated, and I know the many thousands of people watching tonight really appreciate it as well too. For those watching, all of this information is available in the ebook. We've been talking about it all night. It's moving across the bottom of your screen right now, goldcare.com/alpha-gal. Just click that link. You can download the ebook. You'll get it. It's 10 or 11 pages long, and it has all the information in it plus more.
It's literally like 30 pages long. Just
30 pages. There you go. Sorry, I was mistaken. It's like 30 pages long. So it is essentially this conversation in ebook form. It's all you need. Be reassured about everything we talked about tonight. If you would like to join Gold Care, we ask you to come see us. We'll give you 30 days on us, goldcare.com/drgold. Come and join us. And then next week, in matter of fact, on June 9th, we have our next town hall. We're doing back-to-back Tuesdays. This next town hall is on deprescribing of psychiatric medication. It is going to be an amazing conversation. You definitely don't want to miss it. So be on the lookout for that. That is next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. God bless. We'll see you next time.
Do you feel like the healthcare system is failing you? That's because it is, working exactly as intended to prioritize profits, bureaucracy, and big pharma, while leaving you and your family vulnerable when you need care the most. We understand your frustration. You've been asked to trust a system that feels rushed, impersonal, and biased. You deserve better. That's why we created Gold Care. Here, your values matter, your choices matter, and most importantly, you matter. Gold Care is more than a solution. It's a revolution. Trusted by over 10,000 members nationwide, we've built a system that puts your wellness first. With ethical, independent doctors who work for you, not the system, you'll have access to care that's transparent, trustworthy, and aligned with your values. We understand that stepping away from the familiar can feel daunting, but staying in a system that doesn't truly serve you is even harder. That's why Gold Care offers a healthcare alternative designed to work for you. Whether you're ready to step away from the system entirely or prefer to keep your insurance while seeking the transparent care, ethical doctors, and education you deserve, it's time to stop trusting a system that's failed you. Take control of your health with Gold Care. Join today for $17 a month and become part of a healthcare revolution. Gold Care, built for you, powered by freedom, trusted by thousands.